First, I want to recommend to y'all is when you date somebody, get to know them in a public area. Like, get to know people going on dates, like when your family has events or there's church events or something like that. But get to know them and see who they are outside of just the dating relationship. Because any adult that's here that is married can tell you this. In the dating relationship, or even before that, people put on their best face. And so you want to get to know them. You want to see if there's any red flags before you make it official as you get to, say, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, okay? So you want to get to know them even before that in a public environment. Second thing, guys, I'm going to speak to y'all. Guys, you need to take lead in the relationship. Ladies, do you agree with that? Uh-oh. Sure. All right. So it depends on what you mean, right? Okay, so here's what I mean. So the problem comes up in Genesis chapter 3. Y'all know what goes on in Genesis 3?
Oh, yeah.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve and the fall. The serpent speaks to Eve, and Eve convinces her husband to eat the fruit. Does Adam say anything against that? No. He goes along with it. He stays silent. He doesn't lead. Guys, we need to lead in relationships. And here's what I mean. Here's what I mainly mean. You need to be a spiritual leader. You need to lead someone to follow an example. The reason I have that whole idea of imitating Christ out there is because that doesn't just apply to myself or the leaders. That applies to all of us. If you claim to know Jesus, you have to imitate Jesus. And guys, in a dating relationship, whether it is now or 5 years or 10 years down the road, you need to imitate Christ and be a leader in that relationship. Make your faith a priority so that in dating, it's clear. And ultimately, when it leads to marriage, that's already been established. Also, guys, it's a good rule of thumb. Introduce your parents to the girl you're dating. Because it shows that you care about her. It shows that you care about what your parents think. And it gives you an opportunity to talk about this dating relationship to your parents and let them speak into your life. Guys, as you date, be intentional. And here's what I mean. Don't just date because you feel lonely and would like someone to share life with. Date with intention ultimately because you want to get to marry somebody. Like, the point of dating is to see if that person would be the person you marry. Not just to date, just say, hey, I got a girlfriend. Just for status. It's not about that. It's dating with intentionality because you want to see if God's leading you to marriage. One of the things that I dealt with when I was in high school was I felt like if I didn't have a relationship, because all my friends did, that something was wrong with me. And so I just dated. And what ended up happening is, and I've shared this with some of y'all before, I think I shared it on Wednesday night, that I dated, the first relationship I was in lasted 8 months. And the next relationship I was in lasted 6 months. And then the next 4 months, and then 2 months. And you would think I would get the hint. But I didn't. God was trying to show me, hey, you are dating, trying to fill a void that only God can fill. And that is a deep, longing relationship for who God is in your life. When that's not established, you'll search for everything else. Status at school, status in sports, status in relationships. You'll search for all of that, and it won't ultimately fill you. It will not satisfy you. So that's something I wish I had known so much earlier on. Okay, ladies, now I'm going to talk to y'all. Ladies, don't compromise. Don't compromise. Don't find some dude just because he's able to hold a conversation, he can play guitar, and has nice hair. Right? Don't just get in a relationship because he's there. Get in a relationship because he's a leader. Get in a relationship because he cares for you. And you want to get in a relationship with a believer. If you're a Christian, don't settle, don't compromise for someone who's not. Scripture speaks of that, not to be unequally yoked. Date someone also who has goals and ambitions for life. Date someone who has a future that they would love to pursue. Don't date somebody who just doesn't know. Another thing, don't date a guy who can't take care of themselves. If they can't take care of themselves, can they take care of you? No, they can't. Also, date a guy that can communicate his thoughts as well as his feelings. That's something I struggled with. Early on in my dating relationship with Molly, one thing that was a point of contention in our relationship was I could tell her all the things I was thinking about, but I really couldn't tell her how I felt. I couldn't tell her what I was feeling. I couldn't even really talk about what God was doing in my heart in my relationship with him. I was so much up here. And I think that's because I had fears. I felt like if I just cut off my emotions and cut off the way I feel, then I wouldn't get hurt. And the truth of the matter was I had balled up all these feelings, whether they were good or bad, and I didn't know how to communicate them. And so I had to learn and I had to grow, and God used Molly in my life to help me in that area. So guys, learn to communicate feelings. Grow in your emotional intelligence. I know it seems silly, but seriously, if you're going to have a lasting relationship that leads to marriage and a healthy marriage, you need to know how to speak to those things. Girls, again, don't compromise. And I know it's going to be harder as you get older. And when you get to the end of college, I know that seems so far away. Don't compromise just because all your friends are engaged to somebody. And you're like, well, I better get in a relationship now before it's too late. Don't compromise. Find someone who is headed towards Jesus, who is following and who is leading you in that direction. 2 Corinthians 6:14-15 says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has the righteous with the lawless? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with the unbeliever?" This is important that a Christian dates a Christian. And not only that, but I would say a maturing Christian, ladies or guys, if you're growing in your relationship with Jesus and the person you're interested is not, but they're still saved, don't date them. If you're going two different directions, but you're both saved, don't date. Because what's going to happen is the other person's going to pursue Jesus, the other person's not, and in your flesh, it's much easier to compromise than it is to head towards Christ, to grow in your relationship with Jesus. I'm only 32, and I have seen couples that are younger than me that I went to college ministry with already divorced. Their marriages were maybe 1-2 years, and it's over. And I talked to Molly about this. I'm like, what is going on? It's like, well, a lot of times they didn't have people in their life saying, hey, I think you're in a healthy place. You guys should get married. There's some times where they were just so resistant. I knew some friends. One time I was studying at the library, and one of my friends had seen me. He came up to me and he said, hey man, I'm tired of all of our friends speaking into my life about me not getting married to the person I want to get married to. I said, hey, you know why that is? I was like, I don't know. I was like, because you guys are pulling each other away from Jesus. And because we love you, we're speaking into your life. And we're doing it caring. We're not like hitting you over the head with stuff. But because we care about you, we see you guys with your anger, with your jealousy, with your fighting. Like, let me give you a little picture here. They were verbally attacking each other in public. They were not right. There was stories where one person was slapping the other. Yeah, if you don't think that's like something's wrong and that it's going to get better, like you're not in check with reality. If that kind of stuff is happening, that relationship does not need to be. If you're verbally attacking each other and physically attacking each other, that's not a healthy relationship. That was the kind of relationship me and my friends were speaking into. And he was upset about it because I was stepping all over his feelings. Fourth thing, care about holiness. 1 Peter 1:15-16. This is the last point. But as he who called you to be holy, also be holy in your conduct, since it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. So God calls us to holiness. Why? Because it's the right thing to do? There's a greater reason. It's because God made you to be like him, and he is holy. So be holy as he's holy. In dating relationships, this means avoiding places where you could compromise yourself. All right? Don't get isolated if you're in a dating relationship. Don't invite them over if nobody else is home. Don't go to a place where you could easily fall into temptation. Also with technology, Be mindful of your conversations that you have with somebody you're dating. Be mindful of the text. Be mindful of the things you say or send. Be mindful of all those things. Because here's the reality. You may not think someone else can pull you away from truth, but here's what I know about you and here's what I know about me. We fool ourselves a lot more often than we think about. We ourselves trick ourselves to compromise. Have you ever done that? Said, I'm not going to do this, and then you go ahead and do it? Even you, in your flesh. Jeremiah 17:9 says, deceitful and wicked is the heart. Who can understand it? Proverbs 16:2 says, all the ways of man are pure in his own eyes. It's so easy for you to fool yourself, to compromise. You need to make sure you're not isolating yourself and compromising yourself in a dating relationship, because it happens more frequently than you think. So because of this world we live in, because of the way that we are, there's certain things we should put in place in order to make much of God in our relationships, and also save you money, save you emotions, save you from sleepless nights by focusing on the things that are good. I don't say these things to shackle you up, but this is the way God made you, and this is the way that God brings joy in your life, even in a dating relationship.